Welcome back to the Whole Minded Podcast. This is episode 2. Today I'm with Ansleigh Mikesell. She is actually a Whole Mind employee. Her and I run the marketing team here. And so she's used to being behind the cameras, not in front of the camera like this. So if anything cuts out, we have anything weird going on technically, that's because no one is back there taking care of things.
Yep.
But Ansleigh does an amazing job with marketing. We do the advertising. We do a lot of stuff here. And anything we talk about today is not going to be from that professional perspective. It's going to be from Ansleigh's personal perspective. So this week is International Survivor of Suicide Loss Day, and we want to talk about surviving suicide loss. So Ansleigh is going to share some of her experiences with that. It's a very heavy topic. I think it's difficult for a lot of people to talk about it. It can be uncomfortable, but it's super important. So just to paint a little bit of a picture here, not that we need more startling statistics, but I think it's helpful for people to know that suicide rates have gone up. They've gone up almost 30% in the last 20 years. Utah is above the national average for suicide. Men have a much higher suicide rate than women. So if you look at all those factors together, young men in Utah have almost twice the suicide rate of the national average, which is pretty unsettling. So we're going to talk a little bit about suicide prevention. We're going to talk about suicide loss and grief and healing from that. And we hope that it sheds some light and gives you some perspective and gives you some hope for those who are feeling probably hopeless right now. Every single person who's going to watch or listen to this has been affected by suicide. Like there's no way that you have not been affected, whether you've lost a brother, a son, a spouse. This hits home for a lot of us. Ansleigh, let's talk a little bit about your background and then we'll get more into the specifics. So,
let's do it.
Yeah. So tell me, where'd you grow up? A little bit about your family.
Yeah. Okay.
What got you to this point?
Sure. So I was raised in Pleasant Grove, right here in Pleasant Grove. And I come from a split family, divorced parents, remarried. I studied marketing and media communications in college and always kind of knew that's where I wanted to be. But being here at Whole Mind, I've been here just for a couple of months, has just been a complete change. I'm still in marketing, which is fun, but in terms of the industry that I'm working in, it's completely different than what I've done in the past. And it's something that I'm really passionate about and that I really, really want to make a difference in. And so it's been interesting to just feel a different form of drive in terms of my work, just because we are in marketing, but it's like our job to bring awareness. We're not just trying to get someone to buy something. We're not trying to get subscribers or anything. It's literally to find the target audience, which is people who need help and people who are struggling, and to let them know that they're not alone and that there are resources and support is available to them. And I think that is so much more empowering as an employee, because it's something that like I want to do. I want to get those viewers rather than just like trying to get someone to buy something. So that's been really cool. In terms of my credentials in this subject.
Yeah, share your credentials.
Yeah, my credentials. I am not a mental health professional and will not claim at all to be a mental health professional, but mental health is really important to me. I was thinking back, we're talking about grief kind of today, and my first experience with grief, I realized, was when I was a really young girl. A friend in my neighborhood, her dad passed away. And that was like my first time experiencing death in any sort of capacity. And I remember from then on, my like greatest fear in the entire world was losing loved ones, like the death of a loved one. I was just like, absolutely not. I don't make me go through that. Little did I know what was in store. So when it was a week before my senior year in high school, my oldest brother, who was 26 at the time, very unexpectedly passed away. He contracted something called Neisseria meningitis, and he contracted it and died within like 48 hours. I was out of town at the time, and so my parents had to tell me about it when I came back into town.
He died?
And that he died, yeah, that he was gone.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, and he was like my idol. who's like one of my favorite people. So that was the death, the loss that like really rocked my world and like every aspect of my life. And, you know, a week later I had to start my senior year of high school and just walk around the halls like everything is fine. So that was like the biggest grief impact at the time. A year later, I lost a grandparent, which was also unexpected. But, you know, as your grandparents get older, you kind of start to mentally prepare for that a little bit. But still, he was in pretty decent health. And then a few months later, one of my close friends from college died in a car accident. And I remember at the time I was like, I freaking can't catch a break. Like, I don't want to go to funerals anymore. Like, I'm tired of this, whatever. Since then, I had another grandparent pass away. That one was more expected. He was very sick and we kind of saw it coming, and that grief is different. And then the most recent one, and the probably most difficult in a lot of ways, was just last year. So April of 2024, my youngest brother, who was 19, committed suicide. Which is why I'm here, why mental health has continued to be even more important to me, because losing someone to suicide really just is a whole different ball game. The mental and emotional gymnastics that you go through it's still grief, but it's just different. And I thought I was an expert in a lot of ways with grief, and then this happened, and it was like, nope, I was not prepared for what that would look like. So
tell me, it's crazy that you've lost so many people close to you. That's really sad.
It's crazy.
So you definitely had experience with loss and with grief, but be more specific than what was it about losing your brother to suicide that was different from losing your other brother to what sounds like a freak medical accident. Like, how was that different for you, and how did you process that? It's
interesting. It's quite difficult to explain, but when you lose someone, when I lose someone, and it's so different for everyone. Like, I think that's something that has to be said with grief in general, is like, it just is so unique to the individual, with your relationship with the person, how close you were with that person, the part they played in your life, the part you played in theirs. Like, it's just so nuanced. But I feel that when we lose someone in our life who's close to us, it's very normal and common to reflect on the impact that they had in your life. You know, the role that they played, how you lived with them, how your relationship was. When I lost my younger brother to suicide, that still happens, that reflection happens, but I was not prepared for how much I would reflect on my impact on his life rather than his impact on my life. So instead of thinking like, oh, he was this to me and he was this to me, and I'm going to lose this, and where am I going to put this love and all of this, it was more like tidal wave of pitfalls, of shame, of guilt, of overthinking what my relationship was to him.
Like, in a way, like, was it feeling like that you in some way contributed to it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the most common things for people who lose someone with suicide, is immediately you're like, what could I have done different? What did I do or what did I not do that like could have led to this? Like, what could I have done better? Was I not a better sister? Was I not a better influence? Did I miss something? Did I, like, there's a lot of, and it's natural, but there's a lot of shame that can come, right? Like, oh, if I could have only done this, if he only knew this, right? Where when you lose someone to something random, whether it's medical or a car accident or whatever, you think like, that's so out of my control. It's much easier to be like, I just can't believe that they're gone and they meant so much to me. But when someone chooses to take their own life, you immediately are like, did I not mean enough to them? Did they not want to stay for me? Did they not want to try harder? Were they, you naturally, I think it's natural to sometimes look for something to blame. And when it's blameless, when it is random, it's easy to be like, there's no one to blame. This just sucks.
Yeah.
But when it's not that, when it's intentional or when it's that personal, you find yourself either blaming yourself or blaming them. And both of those are very dark spots to be in, because you're either like, this is all my fault. Like, what could I have done better? Or the opposite is just as dark, but it's, why did he do this? And there's that anger, or there's that like wanting to put all of the blame on him, wanting to put all of the blame on that person that chose to leave. And a lot of that just comes from not fully understanding what it's like in that headspace to be in that dark of a place where someone chooses that. That's been a big learning curve for me, to fully wrap my head around the amount of pain he would have to be in to choose that, and to decide that it was fully out of my control. That's a full decision you have to make. It's so easy. You can continue for the rest of your life just saying, I could have done more. I should have done more.
How do you like, I can only imagine, just like there'd be so many times when those questions would come up. Like, what do you say to those questions? Like to that voice that's always in your head? Like, is there, I don't know. I'm just wondering, how do you actually deal with that?
Therapy helps. I would suggest therapy to anyone regardless. In fact, I had my brother passed away on a Sunday, and the following Monday I had a therapy appointment, and it was one of my firsts with this new therapist.
Okay.
And I thought about canceling because it's like the day after, right? Like everything is just way too raw. And then I thought, what better way to spend my time than to just show up in therapy and look for support in a professional. And I remember her, asking, okay, so there are some things that we wanted to, work on. How are you doing? I was like, girl. So actually, all of those ideas that we had are going to need to take a back burner because I need you on this.
Yeah, let's table that. Something came up.
Right. But that was the most helpful thing. Her biggest piece of advice, and it's something that my family and I continue with in all aspects of our life, is that shame often sounds like shoulds. I should have. And that there should be no place for shoulds. So we now say no shoulding on anything. So I should have done this. I should have said this. Like, I should get out of bed. I should stop crying. Whether it's present or past, like that is one of the most the quickest ways to recognize shame talk in yourself.
So when you find yourself saying the word should,
yep,
it's like stop shitting on yourself.
Stop shitting. Don't, because the truth is you could have, but you didn't. And there's nothing that we can do about it now.
Yeah, what good does that do?
Right. And it's just putting me in more pain to sit and think about that. And at the end of the day, I have to trust he knew how much I loved him. Like, I know when I start thinking of the shoulds, I have to go back and be grateful. I think gratitude often helps. Be grateful for what we did have, for what I did say, for what I did do, and think, okay, maybe there could have been more that I could have done, but I also know how much I did do, and I also know how much he did mean to me, and how much I did try to love him, and how much help and support he did have. And at the end of the day, he still chose this, and I can't change that. And that choice, and this is the real kicker, that comes from a lot of therapy appointments to like come to believe this, but it's that his choice had nothing to do with my love for him, or his choice had nothing to do with like me, and everything to do with just the pain that he was in. And I think when we talk about suicide, there's a lot of conversations about bullying. There's a lot of conversations about kindness and how we want to treat everyone with respect. And I think all of that is true. But I think it can be scary because we focus on that so much. Then for the individuals who do try to be kind, who are trying to love everyone, we can't do it perfectly. But then when someone does leave, those are the only thoughts. Those are the only conversations we can draw from is like, how did my negative behavior impact this person? And we have to switch that to be, okay, I know that I have a lot of positive situations. There was a lot of good, and I'm not perfect, but at the end of the day, that choice has nothing to do with how I treated that person.
So you're kind of reframing the conversations we have around responsibility and like the role different people play.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to segue to the conversation about prevention. Just from your personal experience, how has this impacted the way you think about suicide prevention?
Yeah. As I've thought more about suicide prevention this past 18 months or whatever, I think I always viewed it as, okay, yeah, you need to start seeing the signs. Spoiler, you can't always see the signs. Or sometimes you do and you're still doing everything and they still find a way to make it happen, it's right. I think suicide prevention goes way beyond physical actions that we can do. I think so much of it is in like the daily little things that we choose to do, the daily little ways that we speak. I think a lot of it is, sure, awareness is a big part of it, right? Let's talk about it. The statistics that you shared, like we need to not shy away from those statistics. Those are scary numbers that we need to be aware of. But it's also like, let's talk more about mental health. Let's talk more about depression and what that actually feels like. And let's change the way that we talk in our daily lives. Let's not like make light of killing ourselves. I think that can be like a funny joke sometimes. Oh, I'm going to unalive myself. I'm going to do this or that. And I was guilty of that. And now I'm like, let's just not have any space for making light of any sort of mental health issue. I think it's just choosing to like be kind to literally everyone that you interact with, because you have absolutely no idea what they're going through.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that feels like a little too hallmarky, like just be nice, but it goes a long way, right? And it's I think bringing to light options for people who are in that space. My brother, I had never heard the term treatment-resistant depression until after he passed. My parents went to go meet with his psychiatrist, who I can only imagine how that loss felt to a psychiatrist who was actively helping and treating him. But that was the first time I heard that phrase, because he had tried so many medications. He had tried pretty much any and everything that you can think of. And he just like wasn't seeing the results, So he'd been going to a psychiatrist. He tried therapy. He tried TMS. He was allergic to ketamine, but like ketamine treatment is an option for some people. He tried things that are not FDA approved, like anything that you can think of to try to cope, to try to numb, to try to feel better.
And none of it helped. Like, were there waves where you felt like there was some hope, or like from your perspective?
Sure.
Where you thought maybe this might be working? Or was it pretty consistently like this is?
I think it often comes in waves. I think you see progress and then it slumps back. There's a lot to unpack in terms of his experience with treatment and his battle with depression. I think I'm still trying to grapple with some of it. At the end of the day, I can't fully understand because I'm not him and I don't know what that feels like. I don't have depression. I don't struggle with depression. I've had moments where I've felt it.
Yeah.
But I have other members of my family who do deal with it, and so they understand it a little better. It's just so individual. It's so personal. But at the end of the day, when we talk about suicide prevention, I think it's trying to have that hope, trying to look to the next thing. I think some people feel like there aren't any more solutions. And I think one truth is that there is always more solutions. We can always keep going. The problem is sometimes when you're in that darkness, that's just exhausting. I have chronic health issues, not mental health, but physical health. And I know what that feels like to be like, I'm tired of doctor's offices. I'm tired of hearing your labs look normal. I'm right. And sometimes you need to just sit with, okay, this pain that I currently have could be forever. And can I find, an ounce of normalcy in that pain?
Some kind of coping mechanism rather
Sure.
than like a cure. Like
Exactly.
It's not going to go away. I just have to live with this, but can I make it tolerable?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's really brave and that's really scary. And for people who have those struggles, those mental health struggles, like that's their choice. And that you can't push them more than they're willing to go. But you can show up for them and you can remind them that they're not alone and you can sit with them. I think sometimes, and again, I don't want to say we should always do this, but like sometimes there is a little push that you can give them. Sometimes you need to force them into some sort of treatment, especially if those signs are there, right? Like I think having open dialogue with your loved one about them hurting themselves can be helpful. I think my brother with my parents and with some of the siblings, he would say that, you know, it's a bad night or it's a bad week or I am worried. And that only comes from having a safe enough place where they don't feel like you're pushing them all of the time. So I think most of the time as loved ones, it's more important for us to be soft and to be nurturing and just sitting there with them. And then take the lead of the mental health professional. Okay, if this is like a real big deal, then we need to buckle up. We need to make sure that, and all of the safety precautions, right? And there's so many resources online that could speak to it better than I could of what some of those safety precautions are when someone is at risk for suicide. But I'm here more thinking about when they are gone, how to cope with that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. So you mentioned earlier you have all these questions, right? The should-haves, right?
Yeah.
I should have done this. I should have done this. You have, I'm sure, waves of debilitating shame you already talked about. You said you went to therapy. Tell us more specifically, what did your therapist do? What did you do in therapy to help you cope with all of that shame and all that?
No shoulding, yeah. I did do EMDR with my therapist, which is a type of treatment or a type of processing rather in therapy. And I think that helped. Most of what EMDR is recognizing those negative cognitions, those negative beliefs, the shoulds, or I didn't do enough, or I didn't love enough, or I wasn't a good sister, right? And then replacing them with positive cognitions. In this case, it's nothing I did could have changed the outcome at this point, you know? Like I can't do anything about it now. And his action has nothing to do with my love for him and our relationship. Another positive belief that I just actively have to remind myself too. I think this is hard for some people, but when you have someone like a grandparent, right, who's really sick, when they pass, there's an element of happiness, which sounds wrong to say, but it's because they're not in pain anymore. Like
a relief, maybe?
Right, yeah. When someone's battling cancer or Alzheimer's or whatever, when they're gone, you're like, oh, thank goodness they don't have to deal with that anymore.
They might be in a better place.
Yeah. And whether it's religious or not, whether you believe in an afterlife or not, there's peace in choosing to believe that, that they're relieved from those shackles, that they lived with. And when we take depression seriously, treatment-resistant depression seriously, and when we take suicide seriously, I don't want to say you should rejoice in it ever, because it is, we can try to prevent it, right? But when you can't, for me, I find a bit of peace in knowing that he's not dealing with it anymore. One scenario that I try to hold on to the most is if he were here and say someone was like whipping him or like beating him up, right? He's bleeding out or something. And the abuser was like, I can make this all go away, but like someone has to take his place. I would 1000% stand in the way, like I would so quickly be like, no, take it out on me. Like leave him alone. Right. And I guess for me, dealing with that grief is my way of stepping in. If it means that he doesn't have to deal with the pain that he felt during his life, I will go through this pain for him. There are times where I don't feel that way. There are times where I'm like, no, I want you here, even if it means that you're miserable. Like, that's not fair, right? Like those more selfish moments. In my lesser moments, I'm like, no, dude. I see his photo in my house, and I'm just like, you little twerp. Like, why did you? No, you come back, and I don't care if you're sad all of the time. I need you in my life.
Yeah.
But that image to me pulls me out of it the most. Like, I'll do whatever if it means that he doesn't have to hurt anymore. And because I choose to believe that he's not hurting anymore, and that he is so much lighter, then like, yeah, I'll do this for him. Another helpful tip that I kind of picked up in therapy, but it's been something that I've pondered a lot even before the grief really hit. It's this idea of like the dichotomy of feelings. I think sometimes we assume that we can only feel one thing at one time, but so often feelings are coupled with another feeling. And so with grief, there's a lot of sadness or sorrow coupled with positive feelings. And I think there's a lot of power in the word "and." So when I see a sunrise, this morning it was a beautiful sunrise, it makes me hopeful and it makes me sad, you know? Like,
Yeah. You can feel both.
you
at the
can
same
feel
time.
both. Yeah. And because we avoid those harder emotions sometimes, we often are avoiding the happy things too. So, you know, there will always be things that remind you of your loved one everywhere you go. Things that you didn't even think of, that you're like, that's not even something that's particular to them, but it's anything, honestly, almost any time you feel a little bit of joy, you're going to feel a little bit of sadness. That's what grief is. Like, any time that you're happy, you're also a little sad because you just wish that person was there in those happy times, right? And I think we sometimes are scared of that. So we want to avoid anything that triggers us. We want to avoid anything that reminds us of them. Or when we do choose to like approach something that reminds us of them, then we think that it only has to be sorrow, and we have to just like sit there and feel it. And there's only tears, and it's only awful, and it's only darkness. But there's that "and," right? It's good to remember the funny times. It's okay to like laugh at some of it. Like, humor is a coping mechanism. It can be funny and sad, right? Just, it can be ironic and tragic.
You could be really grateful
Yes.
for the time you had with them.
And
still
also freaking be pissed that he left.
be angry, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing that's interesting is we talk about the grief cycle. Most people are familiar with the grief cycle. You learn it in like psychology 101 in high school, right? It's denial, it's bargaining, it's anger, and then you kind of like come around to acceptance. And it's always drawn in this like perfect little circle. Grief is not like that at all. It's a spider web, and you're bouncing around like within seconds, within minutes, within hours, within days, months. So there are times where you're in that anger spot, and then all of a sudden you're like, fine. You needed to be angry for a minute, and now you're back at acceptance. And then maybe an hour later, you're in depression, and it's just like super heavy. And then you bounce back over to bargaining, and then you bounce back over. Like, it's just constant.
It's not linear.
It's not linear
and
at
it's not
all.
like progressive. It's not like,
Nope.
okay, at one point I'll pass through this phase and then I'll be good. Like you're saying, you're going to go back and forth. You're going to go around in circles. You're going to spiral. You're going to feel
right.
the highs and lows.
And all of that's common in any sort of grief. When you're dealing with someone who chose to take their own life, when I mentioned before the mental and emotional acrobatics that come, to me anyway, it's that spider web, that nonlinear grief cycle, so to speak, is just in like hyperdrive. Because anger is not like an emotion that I feel often, even with other past griefs. Like, anger is not a spot that I dwell on in my other grief. But in this one, I visit there a lot, right? Or you're feeling it all at once. You're feeling the bargaining with the depression. You're feeling the anger with the acceptance. Like, it's just strange. It's weird to feel all of it all at once.
That's really helpful, I think, because the reason I'm glad you brought that up is because I think a lot of people probably have an idea that if I'm not feeling peace, if I'm not feeling resolution, if there isn't some sort of closure, then they're doing something wrong.
Yes.
Right? Or like they might not be processing it well or whatever. They might even beat themselves up. And it's like, well, that's the last thing you want is more shame, right?
Yeah, yeah. You fixate on that acceptance bubble of the grief, right? And you're like, I want to get to that acceptance part. Like, I want all of this to be over, right? With my first brother when he passed away, and I was a teenager, and it's just like a completely different story. But I felt like I tried to rush through each of those steps because I was just like, I just need to like
get to the finish
I need
line.
to get to the finish line, right? So I'm like, yeah, let me be angry for a second. Let me do all of those things. But I was seeing it as this linear path, right? And that it's funny to say that there's this should, even with grieving, right? Like I should be done by now. Or like, I shouldn't be feeling this right now. Like that was nothing. Like why is this coming on out of literally nowhere? I shouldn't still be sad, right? Like there's so much of that. But when you look at that grief cycle and you see it as like this path that you should take, you hit that one step. And if you're not hitting that next step, then you got to go back. It's not that at all. It's just going to mix within you constantly.
That would be, I feel like that would be such a relief for people to hear that, to be like, yeah, I can be mad 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later. Like I can still be pissed about something, or I could still laugh, or like, yeah, this isn't the time or place to feel this or that. Like, no, there is no time or place to feel. There
are no rules when it comes to grief. There is no wrong way to grieve. I would maybe argue, again, not as a mental health professional, I would maybe argue the only wrong way to grieve is to not grieve, to like numb, to like push it all down and not confront whatever it is.
Tell me more about that, to not grieve. Do you think that people are doing that? Do you think they're actively like avoiding grieving? And maybe that's just interesting if you kind of step back. Do people even know how to grieve or what grieving even is? I guess is the question. Because if I don't even know the word grieving, I'm not thinking about that. I just know that I lost someone that I love dearly. I probably wouldn't be thinking like, oh, am I grieving right? And then if I was, I probably would think, oh yeah, isn't there like a cycle to it? Okay, there's this circle.
Yeah. Which one am I in? Where
am I at? Okay. But like, do you think there's a lot of people that probably just don't even think about that, and instead they sort of assume they have to be strong.
Yes.
They have to be resilient. And so that just means pushing everything down.
Yeah.
Or putting everything on
And you'll
shelf.
hear that from any therapist, right? Like you need to be able to feel your feelings in order to sort through your feelings. Or for those feelings sometimes to go away, you have to feel them first. I hated that. I hated realizing that. No, don't let me feel them. Let me think through them and let me analyze them, and I know where it comes from, and like I'll move on. It's like, no, you actually have to feel it, or else it's not going to go anywhere. It just like boils, and it just gets stuck, and it shows up in other ways, right? Whether it's, it could show up in substance abuse. It could show up in mental health or physical health issues, right?
Yeah.
The body keeps a score. There's books about that, the way that stress shows up in your body.
So it doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere. It just shows itself differently. And I think to be able to grieve, one, you have to understand that there's no wrong way. So feeling all of the things, regardless of what it is okay. If you're not crying right now, that's okay. I think sometimes the way we see it in media is like so not accurate at all, right? Sometimes it's like, this isn't the place for that. It's absolutely the place for that. It's okay if you're laughing your head off. It's also okay if you cannot get a breath in because you're sobbing. It's also okay if you don't cry. It's also okay if you want to just sit and think about it. It's also okay if you don't want to talk about it. It's right. Like there's no wrong, but all of that comes down to acknowledging that it happened and letting those feelings to exist, whether they're the sad ones, whether they're the uncomfortable ones, but allowing them to exist and not pushing them down and not numbing or pretending or escaping. Escapism for sure.
Yeah, I think we all do this with every like uncomfortable feeling we have, right? We want to escape it. We don't want to feel it. And so it's sort of like, therapy 101. You kind of force yourself to confront your feelings.
Yep.
It's hard though, but from the outside, how do you know if someone's just not feeling, like if they're okay or they're just not feeling something? Like you can't say, you can't say to someone like, oh, you should be feeling this,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like I know, so the personal connection I'm making with this is when my wife's dad passed away really unexpectedly a couple years ago. And she's talked a lot about this, like, I don't know if I should be feeling this or not. Like, should I be missing him more? Should I be missing him less? Should I be this or that?
You hear how many shoulds there are in that
exactly,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder from my perspective, trying to support her, I don't really know. You know, I'm like, I don't know what you should be feeling. I'm just happy to support whatever you are feeling.
Yeah.
And what I hear you saying, I think it's really, really important message. Whatever you're feeling, like lean into that.
Yeah.
Like don't run away from it. Because it needs to kind of go through you.
Yep. And when you're surrounded by other people mourning, it's a lot easier to do those shoulds, right? Like there are moments where like I'm not feeling it. In terms of like I'm not feeling weepy. I'm even on this couch, right? There's been moments where I get very emotional and then I'm completely fine, right? But I could be sitting next to my sister who's losing it, who's just super low, who, you know, and it's really easy for me to look at her and be like, well, she loves him more than I do. Right? Like she's crying more than I, right? It's that we assign a meaning to whatever we're feeling at that moment, right? So for your wife, if it's, should I be like missing him more? A message that why that should is there is she's like, oh my gosh, do I not maybe love him enough? Like I should miss him more if I loved him. And then you start to second guess any sort of relationship that you have with that person.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, or if you're in the mess, right? My sister, maybe the roles are reversed. Maybe she's fine and I'm losing it. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm such a baby. Like I've already cried for an hour straight. Like I should be done crying at this point, you know? Because look, she's pulled herself together, and then the shame tells you, well, like you'll never get him back and there's nothing you can do about it and you should be sad for the rest of your life. Right. And to stop crying means to stop loving. Right. Like, do you see how it's almost like the same message, but in opposite scenarios? I'm like, oh, I didn't love him enough, which is why I'm not crying. Or if I loved him more, I should be able to pull through it.
There's no winning there.
No, it's a lose-lose, which is why you just have to let yourself feel whatever you're feeling.
Yeah. And let other people feel it too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you showing up, that goes into the whole conversation of how do you show up for someone in grief? I think what you said, it's just supporting whatever they're feeling at that time is one of the best things, because you're not going to know at face value, especially if someone's not crying or how are you supposed to know if they want to talk about it or they don't want to talk about it? Like it's funny, even with when you lose someone, that I spoke of, it even shows up in like, I want to talk about him nonstop and I don't want anyone to bring him up. Right? Like how does both of that
like
exist?
Contradiction.
When you go back to work, when you go back to school, it's like, I don't want anyone to treat me any different, but also I want everyone to know how awful this is. And I want everyone to feel it with me. Right? Like it's the contradiction stays there.
That's interesting. I know this is all very, very subjective, right? And
yeah,
unique, as you've
absolutely.
said over and over again.
Yep.
But I do have to wonder, like, are there some do's or don'ts? Like if you could go back to when you lost your brother, what you wish people had done or wish they hadn't done?
Oh yeah.
People that were close to you or trying to support you, trying to show that they loved you?
Yeah. One thing that's so interesting about grief, and you don't realize it until you go through it, is how bad we are at it. Not that anything is, again, there's no bad or necessarily wrong, but like no one's going to be able to read your mind, and you're not going to have the energy to tell people what you need all of the time. And so it's always just going to be uncomfortable. People showing up for you or you trying to show up for someone in grief, like you can't read their mind. So how are you supposed to know? I think
there's no like right way to do it.
There's no right way. I think the most important thing is to be respectful and allow for them to feel whatever they're feeling. Like you were saying, just allowing for the space to be whatever they need it to be and not pushing anything. I think often and this isn't wrong either, but we show up, right? We're like, I don't even know what to say. I'm here for you, whatever. And that is so lovely. There's nothing wrong with that. It can get tiring when it's, an entire week of that nonstop.
How is that tiring? Someone's showing up, but they don't know what to do. That's tiring if you're on the other end.
It's tiring if it happens over and over and over. If you're sitting with your feelings and every 10 minutes someone's knocking on your door to come tell you that they're thinking of you. And again, it's like, well, I shouldn't be upset that they're trying to show me love. Eventually, partway through the week, you put up a note that's like, hey, we're with family, or like, we just need some time, come back later, or something like that, right? You gotta set those boundaries for yourself, which is really hard because you think, oh, if people want to show up for me, I should, let them show up for me. But it's also okay if you don't want company, right?
Yeah.
So
is it also because, just me kind of inferring here,
yeah,
is it because you might feel like a sense of obligation?
Yes.
Kind of like when you're hosting someone.
Oh yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm here to help. I love you. And they're like, I don't know what to do.
What can I do? And you're like, I don't
have
have
my responsibility.
I don't have the mental energy to tell you what I need right now, right? So all of it is still love, and all of it is still so appreciated. There's nothing wrong with showing up. It's just like, that's unavoidable a little bit. So if you're the one grieving, just like set those boundaries for yourself. Okay, I'm not going to answer the door this time, or I can tell someone, hey, can you come back another time, or whatever, right? And if you're the one showing up for the person in grief, I would suggest, and this is no shoulds, but some of the things that I found the most helpful, or that my family and I found the most helpful, with both brothers, is just taking the initiative to just do something, right? Bringing food by is never a bad thing because we forget to eat. One thing I had not thought of, but when it was brought, I was like, that is brilliant, was bringing like paperware and like plastic stuff, so we didn't have to do dishes. So, it's hard enough to eat anyway. Well, good thing there's like this huge slew of food that people have brought. That's helpful. It's easy for me to pick at like a couple of grapes than to like sit down and like make a meal,
Yeah.
But also you're telling me I don't have to like get the plates out, and I don't have to like put stuff in the dishwasher. I can just eat it on plastic or paper and then throw it away.
Yeah.
Like, those are such small things. A friend of mine sent me like under eye patches for like when your eyes get puffy or tired.
Interesting.
We used to, we were always doing like face masks and stuff when we were roommates in college, and she sent me, just out of nowhere, she sent me a little thing and was like, I'm sure your eyes are puffy and red, and this is just to like help you take care of yourself.
That's really thoughtful.
Small and thoughtful, right? Like, those kind of things where, sure, not every gift is going to land perfectly, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's something specific, and it's something ideally thoughtful.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes some of that pressure off of you, the one grieving, right?
Yeah.
To feel like you need to tell
you don't
them
have to
what
entertain,
do.
yes, and you don't have to come up with, what do I even need right now? It's thinking about, what could they need right now? Right? Like, and that's tricky, and I think we get stunned when someone we love goes through such tragedy. We just are like, I want to take it all away from you, and I want to, and we get a little paralyzed by all that we could do. It's better to just do something, Something
small, something simple, something specific, ideally.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that was probably one of the most like life-saving like services, if you're close enough to the person. We have a family friend who's very dear to us. She was my nanny when I was a little girl. She lives out in Tennessee, and she just showed up at the door like a day or two after, just showed up. And she just said, I'm here to help you guys get stuff done. I'm going to keep your house clean. I'm going to be the note taker. I'm going to be the list maker. So anytime if you're needing to organize the funeral, I'll call the funeral homes. I'll get the quotes. I will look at all of the things and help you. So because that's a whole nother thing, right? You just lost someone, and now you have to plan a funeral, and now you have to go freaking pick out a casket and flowers, and you're like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's the last thing that you want to do. You have to go dress the body. Sometimes they have to do, and this is uncomfortable to talk about, but they often have to do an autopsy. With both of my brothers, they had to do an autopsy. When someone commits suicide, there's a detective assigned. I didn't know this, because they have to prove that it was suicide. With my first brother, we didn't even know what killed him. until after the autopsy. And so that's something you have to like grapple with. They have to, ask you questions. They're calling you to tell you results and all this stuff. And so to have someone there that's like, I'm going to be your secretary. I'm going to be the one that's just taking care of it for you. That was huge.
Wow.
She's like, I can call the people that you want to, be involved in the funeral, or, hey, I know you're feeling something right now. I'm going to have you sit down. We're going to talk about who you want to be the pallbearers. We're going to talk about, right, like making sure that we actually get the things done.
That's incredible. It
was really cool.
She would do that.
Yeah. That's the kind of person she is. Like she
flew across the country to do that at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
And knew what to do.
Yep.
So like this is, I think, a really good note for someone out there. Like if you feel like that's your role, you could do that.
Right.
Because people need that. Like,
yep. And not that you have to be that person either. That is who she is. And she is a mental health professional. So that was helpful. She was like, I'm going to show up. She went to the appointment with my parents to the psychiatrist.
Oh, okay.
And the mortuary, she didn't come. But was the one that kind of coordinated all of that. But yeah, show up in how you show up, right? Like, how do you love people and do that for those people, or for those loved ones? One of my closest friends lived in New York at the time. She also flew. Just one morning, she was knocking at my door. And this was her role even when my first brother passed away and we were in high school together. And this is who she is, again, to a T. She just came to just be. She was just next to me the whole time. She didn't like try to spark up conversations. But she was a body that like felt steady, right? And anything that we needed done, she would be like, I can go do that. I got that, whatever. But she's not the task organizer or anything, but she's a person to just like keep you solid. And if I want to talk about something, she'll sit and talk about it with me. And if I'm crying, then she's just going to sit and hold me. And if we need to go get stuff done, then she's going to help get those things done. So showing up in who you are is also like one of the greatest things. And it's those small, like each of these instances it's not something that you would always think about and you're like, is that too much? Is that too burdensome? That's where you got to check, like, how's my relationship with this person, right? In both instances with both of those friends, they are very dear to our family and they're very much like family to us, right?
And that felt appropriate.
Right. If it was like some random neighbor who's like, I'm just going to sit here the whole time, I'd be like, please leave, So like, know your place, but yeah.
That's really, really helpful.
Okay.
So let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming here. Mm-hmm. For the record, I did give Ansleigh the opportunity to back out because I knew this would be a difficult subject. So I just applaud your courage.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.
It's really courageous and brave to talk about this kind of stuff, to be open, to be willing to shed tears on camera, talk about something that's just sucks, right? It just sucks to lose someone, and to lose them by suicide is even worse.
Yeah.
And so I'm really grateful that you were able to open up about that. I learned a lot. I hope, like I always say, anyone who's watching or listening, that you learned something, whether you're dealing with depression yourself, go get help. If you have treatment-resistant depression, you've tried medications, there are other options for you. Like Ansleigh said, there's always something you can do, even if it's just learning to live with the pain a little bit longer. If you've lost someone by suicide, there's support for that too. Hopefully you've got some ideas, some insights for how you can deal with that grief. Leaning into that grief, feeling those feelings, that you talked about, the non-linearity of it all, that it's a mess, it's complicated, there's no rules. If you're supporting someone who's lost someone recently, there's a lot you can do, and Ansleigh shared some great ideas there. So those are just a few of the quick things that I hope people take from this. But thank you again. This was really awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me. It is uncomfortable, but I think if I were to end on one thing, it would just be like, to have the conversations is important. And there are so many people struggling that we need to not shy away from those conversations. And there is a community for those who are grieving. There is a community for those who are hurting. And knowing that you're not alone, whatever stage you're in, is probably one of the most powerful things that we can do for each other. So that's kind of why I came on, because I know that I'm not the only one that has had these experiences, and I want other people to feel that and know that I got their back, and that there are others that do too. Awesome.